We have developed speed, but we have shut ourselves in. Machinery that gives abundance has left us in want. We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity.
We know the air is unfit to breathe and our food is unfit to eat, as if that's the way it's supposed to be. We know things are bad, worse than bad. They're crazy.
Silence! The great and powerful Oz knows why you have come.
You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it! My life has value.
You have meddled with the primal forces of nature.
Don't give yourselves to brutes. Men who despise you, enslave you, who regiment your lives, tell you what to do, what to think, or what to feel, who drill you, diet you, treat you like cattle, use you as cannon fodder. Don't give yourselves to these unnatural men with machine minds and machine hearts.
And now, Reality Rants with Jason Bermas.
And who loves you? And who do you love?
Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas, brought to you by Red Voice Media. And look, I understand I've been focusing a lot on Davos, and I'm always focusing a lot on transhumanism, but Davos right now is essentially the mouthpiece for this agenda. And it just could not get more cartoon level than bringing a clown show, a guy that literally, look, we don't focus on people's looks here. And I hate even when I have to describe this and go over this every time I bring this up. But it's not really something I like to get into. Most of us got what God gave us. There are certain levels that you can level up on, make yourself healthier, a more attractive person just by your persona and personality, etc. But let's just say that Brian Stelter's personality reflects very well his physical stature. Okay? What he looks like on the outside. And when I look at a guy like, and you know, when I watch that clip of Jones going, look at that guy, all I can say is, look at that guy. And I actually had the displeasure of seeing Brian up close and personal when he was a little bit less lumpy. And like, at this point, you would want to cast him as Clown. Not the clown show clown, but Clown from Spawn, who turns into the demon Violator under, I'm trying to think which version of Satan they kind of have, but it's the M one. It's not Mephisto either. Mephistopheles maybe. I'm not sure. It's been a long time. I do love Spawn, but he a great cast member. With that smile and that look, you put him in a Clown Violator outfit, and they're remaking the movie right now. Brian's got time. He's showing up to the Davos forum to tell us about disinformation. Talk about an inversion of reality, right? I mean, my goodness. So let's see, Clown Spawn comic. I don't want something too crazy to come up. But you're telling me that this guy right here wouldn't be Stelter wouldn't be come on. In fact, you know, I should have spent a little more time on the thumbnail, and we could have absolutely gotten like a total 100% Stelter. I mean, this is the dude. Oh, that's a good scene. I do love this comic series. Todd McFarlane is legend in my book. So yeah, I mean, there you have like a little clown that on the inside is even worse. And that's what he is. He's a little clown. And to show you that, I've got a couple of clips before we do a watch along. I've been complaining a lot that this Davos stuff isn't out and about like it usually is. Usually C-SPAN has a lot of Davos. Has a lot. They had 2 forums yesterday, right? Not even. It was 1 forum, and it was 1 speech. And I had to look elsewhere for some of the other forums. I found the Stelter forum, not on the World Economic Forum page, etc., on some economics YouTube. I ripped that. It is a 48-minute presentation, meaning it's going to be the meat and potatoes of the broadcast. Okay, so we're going to do a watch along with that. But before we do that, I got some clips. Yesterday we played a clip, maybe a couple clips, of the mainstream media gaslighting you on the economy. Karine Jean-Pierre gaslighting you on the economy, telling you, and there is no recession. So I'm going to play that as one of the death knells for Stelter's career. Again, he did that same exact song and dance. These people continually lie to your face and have zero accountability. I'm watching the Tuckins last night. And Tuck's like, look, I told people on this show that we were going to have a massive red wave and all these people were going to get elected, and they didn't, and I got it wrong, and I'm sorry, and I admit it. Here's the deal, Tuck. You should have known there wasn't going to be any red wave, no matter who you were promoting on your very, very popular show, because the infrastructure has not been fixed. That should be one of the next focal points on the show and on your Tucker Carlson originals. The fact that in the next election cycle, the same exact thing will happen. Establishment candidates will get in, okay, because the system hasn't been fixed. It's not one person, one vote. There's all sorts of corruption. There's almost no way to audit these things. If you watch my interview with Todd McGreevy, we're talking about them making it hard to get the voter rolls here in Iowa, one of the better states. They want them all. They don't want any resistance. They realized that the Constitution and the Bill of Rights set up by our forefathers, okay, and cemented into the arena by the big-time original colonists, love them or hate them. They had big ideas. And they said, look, we're all dirty. We're human beings. We need to chop this up. We don't need kings. We don't need overall rule. We need a vast majority if we're going to change anything. It's not like a 50%. When they're really changing things, they need 3/4. A reason for that. To keep people in check, because people can suck. They can be Brian Stelter. They have no problem lying to your face smugly. Again, I saw Stelter. It was back, I think, 2007, in the run-up to the 2008 election cycle, when they were still very corrupt, in my opinion. When the media was just either ignoring or going after Ron Paul, right? I want to say that Ron Paul did really, I think he killed in the Iowa straw poll. He's polling great. No one wanted to touch him. All those establishment conservatives, all the Hannitys of the world, garbage, trash, uber trash, all right? So look, Tuckins, I like the humility. I get things wrong too. You got to admit when you get things wrong. But the truth of the matter is, until we stare down the system we have in place now and tighten it back up, and we get done with all this Johnny nonsense of allowing people to mail in ballots, or they want emails. These machines, done. Get them out of there. Oversauce. Hand counting. All right? And I know I've said it before on this show, but think about this, folks. All right? Everybody's got a webcam. The webcam I'm using right now, commercially sold for a couple $100. All right, I got it secondhand for like $80. You buy it in bulk, especially if you're getting back order, super cheap. And you can stream these in real time. You just cover up the name and address on the thing and you slide it in and check them overhead in a real-time online audit as two people audit the election with hand ballots and count them. Get it done in a day. Get it done in a day. You don't need machines. You don't need fractional algorithms. You don't need any of that Johnny nonsense. Okay? Period. Also going to be going over Ezra Levant and Rebel News confronting the CEO of Pfizer. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Rebel News, not perfect, right? I've never kind of jumped on any kind of conservative train, right? And Rebel News certainly was integral in kind of launching the career of people like Gavin McGinnis. I understand Gavin, obviously, in the alternative media arena via Vice prior to that as a co-founder. But as far as personalities go, they brought up a lot of people over on Rebel News. But in my opinion, that really hasn't been what it's about. And I haven't agreed with everything they've done. I think that the COVID-19 84 nightmare, and especially what happened in Canada, really launched Ezra Levant. And Ezra is one of the people questioning. Avi is the other one. Borla. And this guy, he doesn't want any of these questions. We can't play it on this, by the way. We can't play it on YouTube. That's definitely going to be over on the premium portion of the broadcast, or go over to Podbean and listen to it. I've retweeted it. You can go check it out on my Twitter later after the broadcast if you like. By the way, let's thumbs it up, comment, share. All those things matter, guys. Like, commenting is a big part of the algorithm, no matter what platform you're on. If you're on Rumble, please do that. If you're on YouTube, please do that, and especially the thumbs up. But we're going to play that on the other side. 5-6 minutes. And all... Thank you. You have a nice day. Have a good day. No, I'll have a good day when you answer the question. So props to Levant, man. Okay? We got to raise each other up. And I know there's a lot of people out there that don't have a problem with tearing others down. That's kind of their shtick. They can't wait to just tear a bunch of other really good people down. We don't do that here. Okay? We don't do that here. If we like I said, like when I have a disagreement with the Tuck, I say I got a disagreement with the Tuck. I'm glad he's out there. Glad we got something out there. Just something. When I disagree with Jones, I disagree with Jones. I'm not here to tear down Alex Jones. You got to understand on one level, there's a human aspect to all this. And I know, and I actually watched it. It was interesting to me. Steven Crowder was showing some of the contracts with, he called it Big Con. All right. And I think it's Big Con or thebigcon.com. And he's talking about big conservatism. And it had all these, you basically were signing a contract to work with these people. But there were all sorts of stipulations that if you somehow were, for instance, demonetized by YouTube or got a warning from YouTube or a strike from YouTube, you'd have all these economic penalties. So there's self-censorship built into these contracts. And then, God forbid, something happens to you and you're not able to produce content for even a short period of time. You basically are economically liable to the point where you better be a huge creator. Talking about in the hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of dollars. And he said, this is the rule, not the exception when people sign these contracts. Thank God I've never had to sign any of these contracts. First of all, I honestly, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. There's no NDA or contract that's going to make me shut my mouth. Sorry. Nope. Even on this show, when I'm, going around things, eventually we go over to another platform and we let it all hang out. And hopefully most of you can kind of read in between the lines. Doesn't matter. I mean, we've had a ton of stuff taken down from this platform. I can't take YouTube ads, or Facebook ads and expect to have any traction. Let's be honest. And although there has been some growth on Twitter recently, I think a lot of that has to do with the good people at Red Voice Media and the fact that, on the production end, they're taking this show, they're cutting up 2 to 10-minute clips, and they're putting them all over social media. And they've got, I saw the other day a couple of my Rumble clips, a couple of reality rants Rumble clips got like 70, 80,000 views. You know, and now I'm seeing some traction on the Twitter with thousands of views, where traditionally on this platform, even though, you know, on YouTube, for instance, we'll get a few thousand views even where we're capped at. It's rare, you know, my videos go above like 1,000 or 1,500, the whole podcast over on Twitter. If I pin a post like the Muskernuts, the Muskerade, then you start getting into, like, you know, people check it out, tens of thousands, my McGregor stuff, etc. But I've never really been allowed to go viral. And that's odd, seeing as, you know, I was part of the most viral video of all time. And that some would argue started a, you know, technological information revolution of citizenry deciding to make their own media, whether they had intentions of growing that into an organization or a career or not, and sharing it with the world. Who knew? So, one of the things that I haven't been doing and I need to start doing is I've been missing stories. Like I missed this story of a Des Moines archdiocese finally, you know, locking down on, you know, this idea that everything's fluid and, you know, they don't have to resign to the religious edicts anymore. I missed that story. So before I get to the Stelter and the videos and the watch along and the latest from the World Economic Forum and the Pfizer CEO being confronted, let's hit a couple of these news stories, blitz them pretty quick. Again, thumbs it up, subscribe, and share, everybody. It is Reality Rants. I am Jason Bermas. Furious gun retailers blast Supreme Court after it slapped down their bid to block New York's crackdown on carrying concealed weapons. Vendors claim it violates the Second Amendment. In June of 2022, the Supreme Court struck down a New York law in place since 1913 that severely restricted a person's ability to carry a concealed handgun in public. While some states allow it without question, no kidding. I live in a constitutional carry state, by the way. In New York, a person applying for a license has to show proper cause, and only around 4,000 have been issued. Let me explain that to everybody. Okay? Let me explain that to everybody. 4,000 people in a state of 20 million people that can carry. It is almost impossible to get a concealed carry license in New York. That's how restricted things are. And, you know, I don't show it enough for people that don't get it. And I know that I have a global audience, but even people in the United States, a lot of them don't get it. They just don't get it. So, New York State map. Okay. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good one right there. That's right above. And everybody can check it out. Okay, so above here, you see this giant state. Down here, this little thing right here, that's New York City and Long Island. New York City's just like where the New York is overlapped, and the rest is Long Island. 10 million people live in that area. And then another 10 million live in this giant state that also contains Buffalo, Rochester, Albany, etc. Okay? You get it? So, out of all that, only 4,000 can have a concealed carry because of the politics down here and the restrictions. And again, we have to imagination land that we have free and fair elections and that we elected Hochul. Okay? I was actually on the phone with one of my fraternity brothers yesterday. When I say on the phone, I actually did a little Google Meet. Haven't seen him in a while. Dearly miss him. I think I saw him last April. Was the last time that I got to talk to him in person. And he's like, you know, they took 3 days to announce who won. It was just so close. Those are the kind of laws they want for everybody. Think about that. And they want to even, I mean, they don't even want the 4,000 to have the gun. All right? So, if they have their way, that's the federal look. They don't want you to defend yourself. Okay, let's keep going down. Crypto giant Genesis is days away from bankruptcy after suffering steep losses in wake of FTX collapse. Firm owes creditors $3 billion, including $900 million, almost $1 billion, to the Winklevoss twins, the infamous Facebook twins. Okay? So here's the thing. I've seen a bump in Bitcoin. I've seen a stabilization of a lot of the altcoins out there. I've seen a stabilization of Ethereum at this point. Anything could happen. And I've told this to people from the beginning. And look, I've got a little bit of crypto. A lot of people rode that crypto train. Were very wrong. Everybody gets things wrong. There were some big talking heads out there. Bitcoin easily going to 100,000, maybe to 1 million. No. Instead, what happened? Hit around 60K, and then the bottom dropped out. It said, "See ya." Boom. Then the bottom dropped out. Because at the end of the day, just like with anything that has kind of a relative and not an intrinsic value, it's going to be easy to do a little pump and dumpage. A little pump and dumpage. A little collusion for the scratchola. Okay, and there are going to be winners and losers. And apparently, and maybe we got this wrong in the beginning. I'm seeing various reports on the Sam Bankman-Fried bond, right? This $250 million bond. At first, it was like there was no $250 million. His parents had to basically sign over their home, as collateral. And obviously that's not $250 million. Now I'm hearing reports that there are a couple of people that actually did front the money on that, but the judge ruled we don't get to know who fronted the money to keep Bankman-Fried out of jail. That's a little odd. Especially when it's like $250 million. So at the end of the day, just like I'm talking about Biden now, mark my words. All right. That's going to be a limited burn on, the real players are never going to be brought to justice. A lot of people were breaking out the Epstein jokes. I don't know that that's happening in this case. I think behind the scenes, a lot of things are being cleaned up. And when I say cleaned up, maybe some people are having accidents and aren't around anymore that we wouldn't necessarily think are connected to this. There's a reason for that. So keep your eye on crypto for sure. I also think there's going to be some opportunities there, especially as more and more economic hardships hit this country and the globe. They're talking about global inflation over at the World Economic Forum, right? Just what they're doing. So we're keeping an eye on all these stories. Let's keep going down the line here. This story is one I just feel like I've got to do. And this is also a shout out at the Tuckins. How America surrendered to marijuana. Kayla Brantley reveals how pot became ubiquitous across the U.S. because it rakes in billions in tax dollars despite concerns about impact on health. All right. Let's just do this. Okay, and Tuck's another one. Oh, they're encouraging everybody to take drugs. Now, look, I'm a big advocate of personal responsibility. Okay, and I'm a big advocate of you can do just about anything in moderation, but as soon as it gets out of control, anything can also become an addiction, right? Something that is a go-to and that you have no control over, and it ends up ruling over your life. And we don't necessarily want that, do we? No. Whether it's bacon bits on your Twinkie or a little nose candy all the time. Let's just say that. So when we talk about marijuana, I have been smoking weed since I was a young lad of 16 years old. And geez, by the time I was 18 and in school, I'm a big, I like the blunts. Don't get me wrong. I used to smoke joints and out of pipes and the bongs or the water pipes, if you will. I've got a vaporizer, all those things. And number one, I think that I can intellectually spar with just about anybody. Okay, I don't think it dumbs me down. I don't necessarily think it puts you to bed or makes you starving or hungry. In fact, a lot of cases, I think it kind of suppresses an appetite. I'll find myself, I'm hungry in the middle of the day, and then I'll smoke, and I'll kind of forget about it and not worry about it, whether that's like the oral fixation or getting into anything else. I don't smoke cigarettes. I don't do the vaporizer thing. Even the vape weed stuff, not my favorite. Not my favorite. So on one end, yeah, I understand that it's profitable. On the other end, when you criminalized it, you had a lot of non-violent offenders who weren't really breaking any laws or doing anything wrong in jail. There's still a lot of non-violent drug offenders that are in jail that I don't think should be in jail. All right, marijuana or not. So what really upsets me about the whole thing is that, number one, you have varying laws, and I've seen the people's will struck down before. South Dakota is probably a great example. I remember when I was traveling the country, it was being voted on in South Dakota, and the people wanted it out, and somehow through an executive order, no, it didn't happen. Okay, do I want kids smoking weed? No, not necessarily, but at the same time, I think that we do have to acknowledge that teenagers smoke, drink, also sometimes do drugs, etc. A lot of that has to do with social circles and obviously their home life. That doesn't necessarily mean you're a bad parent if your kid's doing those things. I'm just pointing out that those that really struggle with that or have a problem with it often come from that arena, okay? So it's about communication to me. It's about choice. And I would have much rather seen a decriminalization federally, okay, number one. Because federally, I think it's still illegal, which is weird. Unless I'm wrong on that. I'm not sure if the federal statute is gone. You know, New York made it a big dog and pony show. There was at one point that I was looking into actually opening up a dispensary with a business partner. And we could not believe the licensing fees of getting started on just a medical dispensary in New York. That's before the COVID 1984 nightmare. Basically, they extort you for about $15,000 no matter what. You got to have that liquid, and then I think it's $250,000 to apply for a license. That's before any costs or whatever, and that's proving that you can do it and get it. And the thing is that if they deny you, they keep the 15 grand and you get the $250,000 back liquid. But if they approve you, they get it all. So you're talking about like over $250,000 to start with no product and no rent and no nothing. Great deal. Fantastic. So I think there's a lot of hype around that. I don't necessarily like the movement towards more and more drugs in society. I think that the fentanyl issue is a real one, even though we don't discuss it a lot here. But I think the biggest issue is the pharmacological issue. The ones that are being prescribed to people. The legal hallucinogenics. You know, and I'm not talking about now the utilization of psilocybin mushrooms and those types for depression. I'm talking about the SSRI nightmare. On top of a bunch of other unnecessary overprescribed pharmaceuticals. Big Pharma needs to be off of television. They shouldn't be able to advertise on any type of video platform in the country. Period. Shouldn't be able to advertise on YouTube, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever. And certainly not television. Certainly not the news. The news should not be sponsored by Big Pharma. Call me kooky. Call me Kookola. Okay? Thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. Let's keep going down the line. And we will get to Stelter. Don't worry. I know a lot of you can't wait for the clown face. I don't even know if we'll get through the whole thing. Like I said, it's 48 minutes long. I've seen like 5 or 6 clips of it that are just revolting, where they're talking about hate speech laws. And I mean, the next thing are thought crimes, folks. That's it. Here's a bit of good news. And I was kind of shocked by seeing this because this woman was a good little dictator for the predator class. Jacinda Ardern shocks the world and resigns as New Zealand's Prime Minister, says she's got nothing left in the tank and tells her fiancé Clark, let's finally get married. She was actually almost crying. And this is one of the most authoritarian nightmare women out there. So let's just play it. Let's just play. And I'm glad she's out of office. The things she did to people, I mean, this is the type of woman that should face a jury of her peers. You know, I don't like military tribunals or any of that. Committed crimes. Crimes against humanity. This woman. And look, this is the puppet show. This is the revolving door. Bye-bye, puppet.
I'm entering now my 6th year in office. And for each of these years, I have given my absolute all. I believe that leading a country is the most privileged job anyone could ever have, but also one of the more challenging. You cannot and should not do it unless you have a full tank, plus a bit in reserve for those unexpected challenges. This summer, I had hoped to find a way to prepare not just for another year, but another term.
I thought I was going to be around. My masters at the top have informed me I will not. Disaster is coming, and I don't want to be held accountable, and they don't want me to be either. So to further obfuscate things, I will be moving on.
Because that is what this year requires. I have not been able to do that. And so today I'm announcing that I will not be seeking re-election. And that my term as Prime Minister will conclude no later than the 7th of February. This has been the most fulfilling 5.5 years of my life.
She really enjoyed being a tyrannical dictator. It's not the, it's not the last 5.5 years of her life. Really, the last 3 years was her time to shine. Okay? And don't get me wrong. You know, she'll be somewhere in the background, working for some NGO, probably speaking at Davos. Right next to Stelter in the clown outfit. Like, I mean, take a look, man. Like, you could tell. She got the call. This sucks. She doesn't want to give up her power, but bye-bye.
But it has also had its challenges. Amongst an agenda focused on housing, child poverty, and climate change, we encountered...
This person does not care about child poverty. She doesn't care about children. She doesn't care about people. Okay? These are the select human beings that are almost extraterrestrial, according to John Kerry, that want to save the world. That woman.
A major biosecurity incursion, a domestic terror event, a major natural disaster, a global pandemic, and an economic crisis.
So, she's the hero of the day. Yeah, you gotta love that. Oh, all these bad things happened while I was in office, but I saved you. I saved you all.
The decisions that have had to be made have been continual, and they have been weighty. But I'm not leaving because it was hard. Had that been the case, I probably would have departed 2 months into the job. I am leaving because with such a privileged role comes responsibility.
No. That's political theater. You're leaving because you got the call. It's time to go. Because you ain't the boss. Okay? You're just another part of the puppet show. You're just not the poopy pants puppet in chief here. Okay? With duty running down. Zombie J. You're just another puppet. Okay? That's it.
The responsibility to know when you are the right person to lead and also when you are not. I know what this job takes, and I know that I no longer have enough in the tank to do it justice. It's that simple. But I absolutely believe and know there are others around me who do. We've achieved a huge amount in the last 5 years.
Yeah, a lot of tyranny. A lot of tyranny. A lot. Just not a little bit, a whole lot. George Santos And by the way, I think Santos is perfect for Long Island, to be honest. We had this conversation. I'm not going to delve into it too much, but talk about fake it to make it. Was a Brazilian drag queen who used the name Kitara. Report claims lying Republican has another identity. No kidding. There's Santos, allegedly. Kitaro Ravashi. Just too much. This is the guy who was Jewish and worked for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup. Okay, had Holocaust and 9/11 stories to boot. Nothing about this guy is real. And that's why he's quintessential for Long Island, baby. Like I said, deception all day. When I talk about the cartoon world we live in, does it get more cartoon than this? He's not going anywhere. I know that the ethics committee is looking at him, but ethics committee and Congress are kind of like, I don't know, an oxymoron. All right, let's keep going down the line here. It's going to be a miserable existence. Oliver Stone slams environmental movement for blocking nuclear power and warns of dystopian world of hurricanes, fires, droughts without it. Now, look, I don't necessarily agree with everything that he said. And I think that although Stone has done some amazing things, obviously in the realm of JFK, I think in a lot of ways he's failed on 9/11. However, his son, Sean Stone, I've had on the broadcast, has gone much further than 9/11. I think that Sean Stone also gets a lot of things wrong. But in this respect, the idea that we have not utilized nuclear power should also show you that at the heart of things, those at the top really don't have our best interests even in the picture. Okay? Because we're not talking about the nuclear power plants of old. We're really talking about third and fourth generation nuclear power plants that harness much more energy, are much safer. And a lot of the scare surrounding nuclear energy was just that. It was a scare. And the bottom line is that renewables, in the sense that they want to give, and when I say they, I'm talking about the predator class, they want to give them to the world, would be in what? A planned obsolescence, manufactured scarcity manner, in which they decide how much of this or that you get. Wind, solar, etc. Because there's not enough. Nuclear power automatically creates abundance. And they don't want abundance. And look, Kurzweil says, big daddy transhumanism, that by 2030, just solar alone, harnessing 1/10,000th of its power, could power the world and everybody. And that overpopulation is a myth. You never hear that at Davos, the World Economic Forum. Instead, you hear by 2030, you'll own nothing and be happy. Kind of an inversion, right? Kind of an inversion, in my opinion. All right. And I got one more story, and then we're going to hit the Stelter. We're going to Stelter it up. So much Stelter, you can't get enough of it. Florida is awarded $82.6 million in a legal case against Celsius Energy Drinks, who he says concealed finances from him. Okay? So, look, I don't usually cover stories like this one. I'm not a big energy drink guy. I'm not a big Florida guy. But I wanted to use this as kind of an allegory for how the world works on multiple terms, okay? This guy's my age, had a couple of hits. There's plenty of guys that get in the entertainment industry, or guys and gals, have a couple of hits, don't do anything with their money, okay? They basically become a stereotype or almost a parody of what it is to be an entertainer. They lose everything, and then they're on some special, or, this guy didn't do that. He invested his money. Smart. But then you see a corporation that takes this guy's investment and tries to screw him over big time. All right, and he's got to fight that beast. And look at this. I mean, you look at this. He first claimed he was owed $30,000 for a violation of the agreement, but the sum swelled as the company's fortune rose. $82.6 million. $82.6 million. So congrats to Florida. Congrats to fighting the system and being aware and making it happen, Captain. Good for you. Good for you. It shows you, again, it's not necessarily where you come from. It's where you go. And, you know, it's not the size of the dog in the fight. Okay, but the size of the fight in the dog. So I'm just putting out a bunch of cliches because it's reality rants. Okay, let's move on to the Stelter. I got some clips before we do the watch along with the clear and present danger of disinformation. The clear and present danger of disinformation. So here's Brian Stelter openly participating in disinformation, telling you that recessions aren't happening and we're redefining them, because that's what we do in a post-truth world.
Laureate and economist, a distinguished professor at the City University of New York's Graduate Center, and a longtime columnist for the New York Times. Welcome to the program. Thank you for coming on.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Can we dispense with the recession debate real quick? Are we in a recession, and does the term matter?
Are we in a recession, or does the term matter? No, terms don't matter when it comes to the economy anymore, Brian. Are we in one? And does it matter if we are? Gee, I wonder why they took them off of television when they're trying to revamp the network for credibility. You know, I mean, look at this guy. Listen to this guy. My God.
No, we aren't, and no, it doesn't. I mean,
and then it's like, no, we're not, but if we were, it doesn't matter. And this guy's going to sit up there with the global elite and lecture us on misinformation and disinformation and tell you why they need to criminalize speech.
One sentence. That was it, huh?
Yeah, that was it. It's none of the usual criteria that real experts use.
The real experts, according to Paul Krugman,
says that we're in a recession right now. And what does matter? The state of the economy is what it is. Jobs are abundant, although maybe the job market is weakening.
So it is what it is. Like literal, again, stereotypical cliche gangster talk. It is what it is. Hey, am I a paid contributor on CNN to tell you it is what it is and it doesn't matter? You bet I am. I'm Paul Krugman. How you like me now, Brian Stelter?
Inflation is high, though maybe inflation is coming down. What does it matter whether you use the R word or not?
Certainly the White House was trying to encourage reporters to use the technical definition, but certainly many are using a broader definition.
The technical, they're using a broader, again, redefining reality in your face, laughing about it, giggling about it, and then being elevated for it.
So this is going to go on for a while, and I feel like everybody's playing their roles the way you would expect them to play their roles. What should the media's... Go ahead.
Yeah, I would say that this is especially vitriolic. I mean, I get, I've been in this business for a couple of decades and get lots of hate mail and see stuff. I've never seen anything as bad as this. The determination of a lot of people to say it's a recession is above and beyond anything I've ever seen.
It's tragic that people are pointing out we're in a recession when we're clearly in a recession. But it is what it is. And if we were, we weren't. It doesn't matter. Hey, Goomba! All right. I was going to play the almost 8-minute crybaby Stelter resignation. But since we've only got about 16 minutes on the paid portion of the the free portion of the broadcast, and I want everybody to come over to I'm losing it, redvoicemedia.com/Jason, redvoicemedia.com/uncensored to see the rest of it. And then maybe if we have time, I doubt we're going to have time because I'm going to be talking over this clear and present danger of disinformation. There's no doubt about it, even with the little watch along. So we'll do about 10, 15 minutes on this side and then come on over. I want to remind people that there's a plethora of ways that you can get a lot of this stuff for free anyway. We continue on over at Podbean. You just look for the Info Warrior on the app, right? You get the Magic app, or you get it. You can get the app on Windows as well. Look for the Info Warrior. You'll be able to listen to the rest of the broadcast free, but it does support us if you come over for $10 a month, or you really support me by locking it in, again, at redvoicemedia.com/Jason or /uncensored. For a year, and you save $20. So $100 for the year. You buy into this broadcast. We're doing things, I believe, that nobody else in the alternative media is doing, especially on a regular basis. We're always coming, at this from a reality perspective, not from one of political persuasion. Period. All right, it's not what I do. I don't want to be on Fox News. I don't want to be on CNN. Or MSNBC. Certainly go on any show or take any opportunity, but I'm not grifting for a position like that. I couldn't care less. Even in something that I actually love to do, guys. I've been blessed since I've come to Iowa. I call professional fights with a literal MMA, UFC legend, a guy who's in the Hall of Fame, an ex-champion, coached champions, had the first dominant team, Pat Miletich. Dream come true. Great guy. Love having him around. Call fights there. Would I like to elevate my calling fights career? 100% I would. 100%. I want to be calling the Risen fights. Hey, Risen guys, how about hiring me and Pat, or me, Pat, and John Fitch? Big combo. I do the Mixed Martial Mindset podcast. Love it. Love it. That will never shut me up about Conor McGregor, the multitude of evidence that he is a brutal, violent, serial rapist that ESPN knows, Disney has covered up, Ari Emanuel, Dana White, WME Entertainment. Never. I'll never get a gig at the UFC. Like the top of the line I can get is like Bellator. And would they be scared of a guy like me? Probably. Probably, because I don't shut up. I'm not the company man when it comes to truth that matters, period. Okay, and just like we were talking about Crowder and these contracts, etc., I'm glad Crowder's coming out. Crowder's saying he's going to start his own network, basically. He actually gave out a creator's email. I think that's kind of big. I do a weekly show on a Steven Crowder network. If it was again, I'm not having to sign on to some crazy contract like the ones he was showing. Right? I'm trying to reach as many people as possible. All right. With that being said, let's hit it. This is Stelter headlining the World Economic Forum, The Clear and Present Danger of Disinformation.
The clear and present danger of disinformation is our conversation here this afternoon. It follows a session just now about disrupting distrust. And of course, those are connected. So I hope that's where we can start. I'm Brian Stelter, formerly of CNN, now a fellow at Harvard University.
A fellow at Harvard University. I'm Brian Stelter, formerly of CNN. A fellow at Harvard University. Oh my, Brian!
Let me briefly introduce our panelists. And since we're being live streamed, a reminder that the hashtag is WEF23. We can try to put some real information out into the world to make up for all the crazy.
All the crazy. Look at that face. All the crazy. This guy's talking about all the crazy? Oh my God. It's too much.
Sitting first with me, Vera Jourová, the VP for Values and Transparency for the European Commission.
Oh.
That's Queen censorship for the European Commission. That's Queen criminalized speech, okay, for the European Commission. That's who that is. Just want to point that out.
Next to her, Congressman Seth Moulton from the U.S. state of Massachusetts, the 6th District, Democratic Congressman. Moulton, welcome.
Thank you.
Jeannie Burgo next to him, the president and CEO of Internews. Jeannie, welcome.
Thank you.
And A.G. Sulzberger, the chairman and publisher of the New York Times. Welcome.
The New York, there he is, the chairman and publisher of so you got the New York Times, one of the worst rags out there. You got a Democratic congressman from Massachusetts. I mean, this is, a fellow at Harvard University. He shall be moderating the panel.
I think we should start with you, AG, talk from the newsroom and the news publishing perspective, and then we'll work our way toward some of the political parts of the conversation. How does this discussion of disinformation relate to everything else happening here today in Davos?
And I love it, just because, again, disinformation affects the world. And this guy's going to talk about pluralism and trust and yada, yada, yada. Listen, no one trusts the New York Times. No one trusts CNN because you're proven liars. You're proven liars. I just played a clip, Stelter, of you and Krugman talking like moronic, third-rate gangsters out of a B movie. It is what it is. Even if it was, it doesn't matter. Hey!
Well, first, thanks for having me as part of this conversation. As you can imagine, this is something I really care deeply about.
He doesn't care, he doesn't care deeply about. Okay, let me explain this. He actively participates in, on purpose, on behalf of a media, military, industrial complex and a predator class great narrative in a post-truth world. All right? He doesn't deeply actually care about the issue. He cares that he does a good job of what? Forcing their disinformation on the rest of us.
So I think if you look at this question of disinformation, I think it maps basically to every other major challenge that we are grappling with as a society, and particularly the most existential among them. So disinformation and the broader set of misinformation, conspiracy, propaganda, clickbait, the broader mix.
This guy and his operation pumped Russia, and still do, by the way, and Russiagate for half a decade. Okay? Orange man bad. They couldn't wait to promote big pharma talking points during the, They couldn't wait. He did it gleefully. That's who these people are.
Of bad information that's corrupting the information ecosystem. What it attacks is trust. And once you see trust decline, what you then see is societies start to fracture. And so you see people fracture along tribal lines, and that immediately undermines pluralism. Mm-hmm. And the undermining of pluralism is probably the most dangerous thing that can happen to a democracy. So I think if you're spending this week thinking about,
let's just stop that, because that's absolutely the undermining of pluralism. Like, he wants to use a big word to try to to try to say this is the biggest threat, pluralism. Okay, what is pluralism? Pluralism as a political philosophy is the recognition and affirmation of diversity within a political body, which is seen to permit the peaceful coexistence of different interests, convictions, and lifestyles. Excuse me? First of all, they're against, again, it's the inversion of reality. They don't want diverse voices. That's not what they're talking about. They don't want anyone challenging the narrative. They want to label things misinformation and disinformation and then censor it. They want to create laws around hate speech. They want pre-crime. They don't even want to give you due process after the fact with their fake laws. All right? They want a military tribunal for you as you're a domestic terror threat. That's what they want. It's out and about and open. Okay? Period. So let's get back to this New York Times gentleman. Let's thumbs it up, subscribe, and share. And remember, comment, help the algorithm, share the links, guys. That's how we get the show out there. And we're going to be going over to the premium portion of the broadcast in about 5 minutes over at redvoicemedia.com/Jason.
The health of democracies and democratic erosion, I think it's really important to work your way back up to where this starts.
And the term fake news and then disinformation, it was popularized 6 years ago at this point. Where are we today versus then?
What do you mean, where are we today versus then?
So this was a hot, popular topic.
Yeah.
There was an awakening about it. The social networks felt pressure. But now where are we? And
again, it wasn't an awakening. It wasn't the social networks shared pressure or felt pressure. The social networks already had a bunch of intelligence officials inside of them and still do. All right, and then contrived emergencies and authoritarianism let them activate those mechanisms by bringing in outside forces, okay, that would then suggest you censor these things because they were misinformation or disinformation, and then the people on the inside would help make that happen and convince others that were not already compromised to do so as well. It's what actually happened. But Brian Stelter here, I mean, look at that guy. Take a look at that guy.
Same question for Jeannie, but where are we today?
Oh, I see. Yeah, it's a great, and to be clear, actually, terms like fake news and enemies of the people have been popularized cyclically in society and in some of the most, repressive and dangerous moments, Nazi Germany, Stalinist Russia, right? So I think anytime we're hearing language like that applied to, a free press, or more broadly free expression, I think we should be really worried.
Yeah, no, we should be really worried. But you're the one trying to what? Suppress that free expression. This guy is the inversion of reality. My goodness.
Look, I think that there's no doubt that society seems to have, at some level, accepted how much the information ecosystem has been poisoned, and I think it's going to require real, sustained effort from the platforms, from political leaders, from business leaders, and from consumers themselves to reject that.
Jeannie, how do you see this, especially thinking about it from different countries that Internews helps make sure the news is being produced in?
Yeah, I think sort of the traditional view of mis and disinformation, we often think of sort of the information warfare, and we're looking at the Ukraine crisis where it's been devastating, and even looking at the arc of time at the beginning of the Ukraine crisis in 2014, the Russian disinformation was trying to sow confusion in Ukraine, and now we see the Russian disinformation machine really sowing a single line inside of Russia for this continuation of the war.
So this lady, so this woman goes all the way back to the CIA 2014 coup to talk about Russian disinformation. All right. No semblance of the fact that it was Western and United Nations, NATO interests that sparked that up, that installed a actor puppet as the leader. No. Russian misinformation and disinformation ramping up from 2014. And again, this WEF has just been a rocket ship against Russian disinformation and just so pro-Ukraine. In it for the long haul, guys.
But it seemed very much like almost like a great power struggle that was happening. I think the big trend for us that we're seeing, and we work with news organizations in 100 countries around the world trying to support their work because we believe in healthy information environments being so critical to solving the world's problems.
Yeah, I believe in the truth, not healthy information environments. Healthy information environments. That could be, I'm a healthy information environment. What's a healthy information environment? Is that where you just have a little bit of censorship or like a whole lot of censorship, or you're on behalf of the state, or we don't want to say that too loud because things can get out of control. They can get unhealthy very quick. All right. That's where I cue to the producers, and we are going over to redvoicemedia.com/Jason. I'm going to say goodbye to each platform one at a time right now. We got a lot. I don't even know if we're going to get through this. There's 43 more minutes left in this forum. There were some other videos, including the video of Rebel News taking on the Pfizer CEO. Again, right now, anybody can go check that out. I should. Let's just make sure if I didn't. Let's do it again. Let's retweet that again. Because Ezra Levant, he just nailed it, and people need to see it. It's now up at the top. We're going to play that on the other side as well, hopefully. Depends on where we cut off the misinformation, disinformation crowd. But here we go. Let's start cutting it off. YouTube, thumbs it up, subscribe, share, comment. Same thing with Rumble. Please do that. Rockfin, thank you so much for supporting me. I will be posting a Making Sense of the Madness where I'm talking deep dive into the deep state with Sean Morgan, probably later this afternoon. So look for that exclusively over at Rockfin. YouTube, you know the drill. Check out the documentary films. They